shadows of disdain. The rain tapped gently against the windows of Rohan and Samira Malhotra's lavish penthouse apartment. Inside, the soft glow of designer lamps illuminated a dinner table set with imported china and crystal glasses that sparkled under the chandelier. "He's always late," Samira muttered, checking her diamond-studded watch for the third time. She smoothed down her silk designer dress and shot an irritated glance at her husband. Rohan sighed. Vikram texted, "The bus was delayed because of the rain. He'll be here soon." "The bus," Samira scoffed. 5 years out of engineering college, and he still takes public transport. What a waste of education. Before Rohan could defend his childhood friend, the doorbell rang. Vikram Sharma stood in the doorway, his simple button-down shirt slightly damp from the rain. His warm smile contrasted with the modesty of his appearance. "Sorry I'm late," he said, handing Rohan a bottle of wine that was clearly not from the premium shelf. Traffic was terrible. Samira's smile thinned as she accepted his small bouquet of flowers. "How thoughtful, though I prefer orchids." Dinner proceeded with Samira subtly highlighting the growing gap between Rohan's corporate success and Vikram's struggling career. While Rohan had climbed the corporate ladder at Pinnacle Technologies, Vikram had left a promising position to develop his own software solution, one that had yet to find investors. "So," Samira said between sips of expensive wine, "still working on that little app in your apartment? What was it again? Something about data security?" "It's a comprehensive encryption framework," Vikram explained patiently. "It could revolutionize how companies protect sensitive information." "Fascinating," Samira replied with poorly concealed disinterest. "And it's been 2 years now? With no buyers?" Rohan intervened. "Vikram's approach is innovative. It just needs the right audience." "Of course," Samira smiled coldly. "I'm sure someone will appreciate your persistence." After dinner, as Vikram helped clear the dishes despite Samira's obvious dismay at his handling of her expensive tableware, he overheard her in the kitchen. "I don't understand why you still entertain him," she whispered harshly to Rohan. "He's going nowhere. All these dreams about changing the tech world while he can barely afford new shoes." Vikram's hands stilled on the plates he was stacking. He'd grown accustomed to Samira's thinly veiled contempt, but each barb still stung. Later that evening, as the rain continued its steady rhythm, Vikram waited at the bus stop, replaying the dinner conversation. His phone buzzed with a message from Zara Patel, a quiet, brilliant woman from his college days who had recently reconnected with him online. "How did the dinner go?" she texted. Vikram hesitated before responding. "Same as always. Samira thinks I'm wasting my life." Zara's reply was immediate. "She doesn't see what you're building. Not everyone can." The bus arrived, its headlights cutting through the rain. As Vikram boarded, he didn't notice the car slowing down nearby, Rohan, concerned about his friend traveling in the storm. At home, in his modest one-bedroom apartment that doubled as his workspace, Vikram stared at his computer screen. Lines of code reflected in his glasses as he worked late into the night, fueled by determination rather than Samira's judgment. On his desk sat an invitation to the Pinnacle Technologies annual gala, a courtesy from Rohan. Beside it was a letter from TechVault, a small but innovative company interested in discussing his encryption framework. Both represented crossroads, and Vikram didn't yet realize how significantly they would alter his path. Silent departure. The Pinnacle Technologies annual gala glittered with opulence. Crystal chandeliers cast prismatic light over executives in designer wear, while champagne flowed as freely as the ambition in the air. Vikram stood awkwardly in his one-good suit, purchased 3 years ago for a cousin's wedding, clutching a glass of champagne he'd barely touched. "You actually came," Rohan said with genuine pleasure, clapping his friend on the shoulder. Wasn't sure you would after the dinner last week. I wouldn't miss your big moment, Vikram replied, referring to Rohan's expected promotion announcement. Besides, there might be potential investors here. Before Rohan could respond, Samira appeared, resplendent in a deep blue gown that probably cost more than Vikram's rent. She was accompanied by several corporate executives, including Pinnacle's CEO, Dhruv Tandon. "Darling, there you are," she cooed at Rohan before her eyes flicked dismissively over Vikram. "And Vikram, what a surprise!" "Mr. Tandon was just discussing cybersecurity solutions," Rohan said pointedly, trying to create an opening for Vikram. Vikram straightened. "Actually, I've been developing—" "Oh, Vikram dabbles in programming," Samira interrupted with a light laugh. "Nothing as sophisticated as what Pinnacle needs, I'm sure. Didn't your laptop crash during your last demonstration, Vikram?" The executives chuckled politely. Vikram's face burned with humiliation as he remembered the technical glitch that had derailed his presentation to a small investor group, a story he'd shared with Rohan in confidence. "It was a hardware issue," he said quietly. "Well, we all have to start somewhere," Samira continued, her smile not reaching her eyes. "Though perhaps after 5 years one should consider whether to persist or find a more practical path. Not everyone is meant to be an innovator." The group moved on, leaving Vikram alone with his untouched champagne. From across the room, he caught Samira's voice again. "It's almost tragic, isn't it? Rohan feels obligated because they were roommates in college, but honestly, there comes a point where association with underachievers reflects poorly on one's own reputation." Something inside Vikram shifted that night, not toward anger, but toward clarity. After the gala, he declined Rohan's offer of a ride home and walked the 5 kilometers in his dress shoes, thinking. The next morning, he called Tech Vault and accepted their invitation to discuss his encryption framework. 3 days later, he gave notice on his apartment. "You're moving? Where?" Rohan asked when they met for coffee, their last meeting, though neither knew it yet. "Tech Vault has a small development office in Bengaluru. They want me to join their team and continue working on my project under their resources," Vikram explained. "It's not a fortune, but it's a start." "That's amazing," Rohan said. "We should celebrate. Come over for dinner before you leave." Vikram shook his head. "I think it's better if I focus on preparations. The move is happening quickly." What he didn't say was that he couldn't bear another evening of Samira's elegant cruelty, another night of feeling like his dreams were a source of amusement. His friendship with Rohan had become collateral damage in Samira's campaign of subtle degradation. On his last night in the city, Vikram received a text from Zara. "Heard you're taking the leap. Bengaluru has a great tech ecosystem. I'm there. Often for conferences. My company's headquarters is nearby." For the first time in weeks, Vikram smiled genuinely. Perhaps this move offered more than just professional opportunity. He left without saying goodbye to Samira and Rohan. His farewell was a brief email to Rohan explaining his sudden departure and wishing him well. He didn't mention the overheard conversations, the public humiliations, or how each interaction with Samira had slowly chipped away at his self-confidence. Some wounds were better left unacknowledged. As his train pulled away from the station, Vikram deleted his social media accounts and changed his phone number. The life he was leaving behind, with its painful dinner parties and crushing sense of inadequacy, faded into the distance. Ahead lay uncertainty, but also possibility. In Bengaluru, a small apartment awaited him, modest but entirely his. His first night there, he set up his workstation and began coding until dawn, fueled by a determination born of years of dismissal. Samira's voice still echoed in his mind sometimes. Not everyone is meant to be an innovator. He would prove her wrong, not out of spite, but because he finally believed in himself enough to try. What Vikram didn't know was that back in the city he'd left, Rohan stared at the brief goodbye email with a mixture of confusion and sadness. While beside him, Samira scrolled through her phone, already forgetting the friend she had deemed inconsequential. Rising from ashes, the Tech Vault office in Bengaluru hummed with creative energy. Unlike the sterile corporate environments Vikram had previously worked in, this space encouraged innovation with its open floor plan, collaborative zones, and walls. Covered in whiteboards filled with diagrams and code snippets, for the first time in years, Vikram felt at home in his professional environment. "Your encryption framework has potential," said Nikhil Verma, Tech Vault's founder and CTO, during their weekly review. "But it needs to address scalability issues before enterprise adoption becomes realistic." Instead of dismissing the critique, Vikram embraced it. "I've been thinking about implementing a modular approach that would allow different levels of security based on data sensitivity." Nikhil's eyes lit up. "That could be the differentiator we need. Draft a proposal for the team." 18 months passed in a blur of coding sessions, late-night breakthroughs, and gradual refinements. Vikram's encryption framework evolved from a promising concept into a robust solution that caught the attention of several major corporations concerned about data security in an increasingly vulnerable digital landscape. During this period, Zara became a regular presence in his life. Her company, Quantum Data Analytics, frequently collaborated with Tech Vault, and their professional interactions eventually blossomed into tentative personal connection. "You've changed," Zara observed one evening as they shared dinner at a small South Indian restaurant near the office. "There's a confidence in you that wasn't there before." Vikram considered her words. "I stopped measuring my worth through others' expectations," he finally said, "especially those who never believed in what I was building." He rarely thought about Samira and Rohan now. Occasionally, he would see updates through mutual connections. Rohan had indeed received his promotion, and Samira continued her ascent in corporate social circles. What he didn't know was that their marriage had begun to fracture under the weight of incompatible values and Samira's relentless ambition. Meanwhile, Tech Vault's profile grew significantly after a major financial institution implemented Vikram's security solution and publicly praised its effectiveness. Suddenly, companies that had previously dismissed the small tech firm were clamoring for meetings. "We need to scale quickly," Nikhil announced during an all-hands meeting. "I'm proposing a merger with Quantum Data Analytics. Their data analysis capabilities complement our security framework perfectly." The merger created a powerful new entity, Quantum Vault Technologies. Nikhil took the role of chairman, while the CEO position required someone with both technical expertise and strategic vision. "The board wants you," Nikhil told Vikram one evening after the office had emptied. "Your encryption framework is now our flagship product, and you understand both the technical and business implications better than anyone." Vikram was stunned. "I'm a developer, not a CEO." 3 years ago, maybe," Nikhil countered. "But I've watched you grow beyond the code. You see the bigger picture. The team respects you. And most importantly, you have integrity, something rare in this industry." After careful consideration, Vikram accepted the position. At 35, he became the CEO of one of India's fastest-growing tech companies, with offices expanding internationally. The company's valuation soared as major corporations around the world adopted their integrated data security and analytics platform. As Quantum Vault prepared to open its newest office back in Vikram's former city, Zara, now the company's chief analytics officer and Vikram's partner in life as well as business, suggested he lead the launch personally. "Are you ready to go back?" she asked, knowing fragments of what he had left behind. Vikram gazed at the skyline of Bengaluru from their apartment balcony. "The past doesn't have the same power anymore," he said simply. What he couldn't have known was that Samira, recently divorced from Rohan and determined to rebuild her career independently, had just accepted a position as marketing director at a prestigious firm that was preparing to partner with an innovative tech company, Quantum. Vault Technologies. The wheels of coincidence were turning, bringing their worlds back into alignment after years of separate journeys. Unexpected reunion, Samira Malhotra straightened her designer blazer and checked her reflection in the elevator's mirrored wall one last time. Her first month as marketing director at Meridian Enterprises had been a calculated exercise in impression, management, arriving early, leaving late, and strategically aligning herself with the company's most influential executives. The partnership with Quantum Vault Technologies could transform our entire data infrastructure, her assistant commented as they rode to the executive floor. Everyone's saying their CEO is some kind of technical genius who developed their core security system himself. Samira nodded absently. After her divorce from Rohan, who had eventually grown tired of her relentless social climbing and materialistic values, she had thrown herself into her career with renewed determination. This meeting was another opportunity to demonstrate her value to Meridian's leadership. The boardroom was already filled with executives when she arrived. She took her seat, arranged her tablet and portfolio with practiced precision, and prepared her carefully rehearsed insights on marketing Quantum Vault's security solutions to their clients. The room quieted as Meridian's CEO rose to welcome their guests. It's my pleasure to introduce Quantum Vault Technologies' leadership team, who have joined us today to finalize our partnership agreement. The door opened and Samira glanced up casually, then froze. Walking into the room was Vikram Sharma, not the Vikram she remembered, the awkward, struggling developer in an ill-fitting suit. This Vikram moved with quiet confidence, dressed in a tailored business attire that suggested success without flaunting it. Behind him followed a striking woman with intelligent eyes whom Samira didn't recognize, along with several other executives. "Thank you for having us," Vikram said, his voice familiar yet somehow different, steadier, more assured. "We're excited about the potential of this partnership." His eyes swept the room and briefly met Samira's. A flicker of recognition crossed his face, but nothing more. No surprise, no anger, no triumph, just professional acknowledgement before moving on to greet Meridian's CEO. Throughout the meeting, Samira struggled to reconcile this poised, respected industry leader with the man she had once mocked for taking the bus. When it came her turn to present, she found herself uncharacteristically flustered. "Ms. Malhotra will outline our marketing approach," her CEO introduced. Vikram regarded her with polite interest, his expression revealing nothing of their past. She recovered quickly, delivering her presentation with her usual polish. But inside, memories cascaded. Her cutting remarks at dinner parties, the dismissive introductions to her friends, the time she had laughed when Vikram's laptop malfunctioned during a presentation. After the meeting, as executives mingled over coffee, Samira approached him. "Vikram," she said, her smile carefully calibrated to suggest warm recollection rather than the shock she still felt. "What an incredible coincidence. It's been what? 5 years?" "6, he corrected mildly. "You look well, Samira." "As do you," she replied, gesturing vaguely to encompass his evident success. "I had no idea you were with Quantum Vault. You've clearly done very well for yourself." Before he could respond, the woman who had entered with him joined their conversation. "Vikram, we should discuss the implementation timeline with their CTO," she said, then noticed Samira. "Hello, I'm Zara Patel, Chief Analytics Officer." "Samira Malhotra, Marketing Director," she replied, noting with a twinge the warm familiarity between Zara and Vikram. "Vikram and I are old acquaintances. My ex-husband was his college friend." "Ah, Rohan," Zara said with a nod. "Vikram mentioned him." What else had Vikram mentioned? Samira wondered, suddenly acutely aware of how she might have been characterized in those conversations. "We should get together sometime," Samira suggested to Vikram. "Catch up properly. I'd love to hear how you built Quantum Vault." Vikram's smile was polite, but distant. Perhaps. The next few weeks will be quite busy with the partnership launch. Your presentation was impressive, by the way. Your marketing strategy aligns well with our vision. With that, he smoothly transitioned to a conversation with Meridian's CTO, leaving Samira with the distinct impression that their catching up was low on his list of priorities. Later that week, Samira researched everything she could find about quantum vault technologies and Vikram's rise. Industry publications praised his innovative approach to data security. A business magazine had recently featured him in their 40 under 40 list, describing him as brilliant but humble and a visionary who leads through collaboration rather than command. She found herself remembering her own words from years ago. Not everyone is meant to be an innovator. The irony wasn't lost on her. Full circle. The Quantum Vault Technologies partnership launch was held at the Grand Meridian Hotel, transforming its ballroom into a showcase of digital innovation. Interactive displays demonstrated the company's security solutions, while screens visualized data protection in real time, an elegant translation of complex technology into comprehensible visuals. Samira circulated among the guests, performing her role as Meridian's marketing director with practiced charm. Yet her attention repeatedly drifted to Vikram, who moved through the crowd with unassuming authority, listening more than speaking, deflecting praise to his team members. Quite different from how you remember him, isn't he? The voice beside her belonged to Rohan, now chief strategy officer at a competing firm, but invited as a potential client. Their divorce had been finalized 2 years ago, but this was their first professional encounter since then. Samira's surprise at his presence quickly gave way to defensiveness. "People change," she said neutrally. "Success transforms everyone." Rohan shook his head. "No, Samira. Success doesn't transform people. It reveals them. Vikram was always this person. We just couldn't see it because we were looking at the wrong indicators." Before she could formulate a response, the room's attention turned to the stage where Vikram was preparing to speak. Beside him stood Zara, elegant in a simple evening dress, her hand occasionally brushing his in a gesture of unconscious intimacy. "Thank you all for being here," Vikram began. "When I started developing the encryption framework that eventually became our core technology, I was working from a one-bedroom apartment, convinced that data security needed a fundamental rethinking." His eyes briefly met Samira's across the room. There was no animosity in his gaze, just a quiet acknowledgement of their shared history. "Many people told me to be practical, to abandon what seemed like an impossible vision," he continued. "But innovation requires persistence through doubt, both external skepticism and our own internal questioning." The speech was brief but impactful, focusing on the partnership's potential rather than past achievements. As applause filled the room, Samira found herself clapping sincerely, moved despite herself by the journey his words implied. Later, as the evening wound down, she found Vikram alone near one of the interactive displays. "Congratulations," she said. "Your speech was inspiring." "Thank you," he replied. "Your marketing campaign for the partnership has been exceptional. The messaging perfectly balances technical credibility with accessibility." The professional compliment surprised her. She had expected coldness, perhaps even subtle revenge, but found instead a genuine respect for her work. "I owe you an apology," she said abruptly. "For how I treated you years ago. I was—" She trailed off, searching for a justification that wouldn't sound hollow. "Measuring value by visible metrics," Vikram supplied. "It's a common perspective." "But not an accurate one," she admitted. "I was wrong about you, about what success looks like." Vikram studied her for a moment. "We were different people then. You've built an impressive career yourself, on your own terms." "But not a life," she said softly, the realization forming as she spoke it. Not like you have." Across the room, Zara was engaged in animated conversation with several executives, her intelligence and passion evident in her gestures. "You found someone who believed in you," Samira observed. "I found someone who saw me," Vikram corrected gently, "just as I saw her. That's rarer than belief." An assistant approached, informing Vikram that a key client needed his attention. Before leaving, he turned to Samira one last time. "For what it's worth, I don't harbor resentment for the past. It shaped me, but it doesn't define me. Or you." As he walked away, Samira realized he had given her something unexpected. Not forgiveness, which would have maintained the power dynamic of wrongdoer and wronged, but release, permission to define herself beyond past mistakes. Later that evening, as the event concluded, Samira declined invitations to join colleagues for after-party drinks. Instead, she walked alone through the city streets, passing storefronts displaying luxury goods that once symbolized everything she aspired to. She paused at a bus stop, ironically, perhaps the same one where Vikram had once waited in the rain, after those uncomfortable dinner parties. The memory no longer brought satisfaction, but a complex mixture of regret and understanding. A young woman sat on the bench, intensely focused on her laptop despite the late hour. Something about her concentration reminded Samira of Vikram from years ago, the same dedication, the same absorption in creating something that existed only in her mind but might someday change the world. Samira continued walking, thinking about Vikram's words, "Success doesn't change you, it reveals you." For the first time, she wondered what success might reveal about her if she redefined what it meant, not as acquisition or status, but as the courage to recognize worth beyond surface appearances, including her own. It wasn't an ending, but a beginning, a quiet revolution of perspective that, like all meaningful changes, would start with a single step away from who she had been and toward who she might become.